Alright, today we are going to go over the introduction to Photoshop, show you some basic things and get you started. Now I've pulled out my Photoshop. Here is the icon that you're looking for on your desktop. It says Adobe Photoshop Elements 7.0. Note that this is not the actual full version of Photoshop. This is a more educational version, and you do get quite a bit more with the full version, although for our purposes you have to be pretty advanced to really use Photoshop to its full potential. So I actually really like this program because it gives you everything that I would ever want. But just a side note. So go ahead and double click it. Let's give it an open. Now yours is going to take a minute, and also if you get anything like a license agreement or anything that says do you disagree or agree, do you say cancel or okay, you always hit I agree or okay or yes. Just trust it, go through it. And then when you get to this page, we've got 4 options. Now this is going to pop up every time we open Photoshop. We always want to hit edit, nothing else. Okay, so we'll hit edit. And here's our program. So what do we got going on here? There's a lot on this screen. Well, up here at the top, this is called the File menu. And basically what this is here for is a bunch of different options that have to do with the program itself. So this first one is pretty basic for any Windows program. You have things like New, Open, Save, Close, Print. The second one, Edit, Undo, Copy, Paste, all that stuff. And then they get a little bit more intricate as you go along, a little bit more dealing with the workings of the program. We're not going to spend any time actually looking at those because that's something that you can do on your own. Next we have over here on the side bar, this is called the toolbar, and this is where all the tools that you will use to edit and create images will come from. Everything from a move to a zoom to there's paintbrush, eraser, text tool, all sorts of stuff on here. The cool thing about this that a lot of people don't realize is all the tools with little black arrows in the lower right corner actually are menus. So that means if you click and hold on that little black arrow, there's all sorts of other options underneath. Where this will come in handy is if you are trying to do a project and you're trying to find a specific tool and you can't find it. What you'll have to do is figure out, okay, well, which one of these menus is it in? Because it's hiding under there somewhere. So that's neat. The third thing, this is called our options bar up here. You'll notice that every single different option every single different tool I click on, it will pull up different options. So for text, for instance, the options bar shows, hey, what font do you want? Do you want regular, bold, or italic? What size? What color? If I were to click on zoom, it's got, hey, do you want to zoom in or zoom out? Do you want to do a couple other things? If I go down to the brush tool, it says, hey, what kind of brush do you want? What size do you want it? What mode do you want it in? So on and so forth. So that's the option bar. Last but not least, here is our layers panel. And this is where everything that we make will be tracked down here in the layers panel. It will be very important for editing and making sure everything is set up correctly in our documents. So we'll learn more about this as we go. Okay, so what we want to do is go ahead and open up the program if you haven't already. And let's just do a file new, just hover over it, and go to blank file. For today, you can just call the name of the file test. We don't really want to ever leave that as untitled. And you'll notice down here, you have all these different options for size. Now, my personal theory is that you should always, unless instructed otherwise, have your units set to inches. You'll notice here yours is probably set to pixels. Alright, and if you don't know exactly how big a pixel is, you don't know how big your document is going to be. So, switch it to inches. Alright, we know what an inch is, and we can make it whatever size we want. If you want to make it 10 by 10, it's a fantastic starting size for a document. Go ahead and do that. Now it asks you how many pixels per inch do you want. For right now, go with 300. We'll explain why in future classes. For right now, just trust me that 300 is the correct setting. You don't ever want to switch the color mode from RGB to grayscale or bitmap, it will mess up your file. I promise you at least 2 to 3 people will do that in this class. Okay, keep it at RGB color or else it will get messed up. Hit OK, and hey, we've got a nice blank canvas to draw on. Today we just want to use some of the basics. Now, obviously some of you have used this more than others, but what I'd like you to do is just play around with some of the tools, and this is completely up to you. You can go nuts with this. If you want to click the brush tool and start messing around with brushes, I've got a very thin yellow brush right now. Okay, well, let's think, how do I change the brush again? Oh yeah, up in the options bar, I've got different settings for types of brushes, and I've also got the size thing over here, so I can make it a different size, as you see. Okay, well, what about if I wanted to change color? Down here in the corner, we've got a yellow box and a white box. It's called your foreground color and your background color. For now, we're just going to worry about the foreground color. If you want to change it, just double click, and you can do 2 things. Number 1, you can slide this ribbon over here to whatever shade or hue you want. So let's say I wanted a blue of some kind. And then over here in this box, you can set how light or how dark you want that blue to be. You find the perfect area, and notice that this box changes as you move the sliders around. Okay, so find your perfect hue of blue. Mine's somewhere, I like a nice teal, something like that. Maybe that's more sky blue. You hit OK. Alright, and you can now draw with your new color. Okay, you can do text, and there's all sorts of different types of text. So maybe I want just some black text on here. You can play around with the size of the font or whatever you want to do. Okay, so now I've got some text in there. What if I want to move that text? Well, we've got this move tool up here, and this thing is awesome because what you can do is click on it, and then you can click on your text, and you can just drag it right around wherever you want it. Maybe I want it down the lower corner, starting to look like an album cover. Alright, so maybe I want it there. Awesome. Well, let's see what's next. What else can I play with? Maybe I want to erase some of this stuff. I'm not too big of a fan of this part of the yellow right here, so I'll quick erase that. Alright, maybe I want to do some shapes. Okay, right down here you got rectangle tool, you got line tool, you got custom shapes. Maybe you're a heart person. Okay, oh, but hopefully your heart's not black. Okay, so maybe we want a green one instead. I should have probably done that before I made the heart, so I'm going to undo it. That was just under Edit, Undo, by the way. So maybe I'll change my color to green. Alright, and then I'll make my heart. Awesome. Alright, there's all sorts of stuff that you can do in here, you guys. Play around. You could play in this for hours and hours and hours and never find all the cool things you can do. So mess around, make some cool stuff, enjoy yourself, and we will get started really in depth on this on Monday.